This week on Focus Earth, under cover of night,
There's one right there.
into a crocodile lair,
He's huge. Okay, we got him.
on the hunt for answers.
You got a good grip.
What's driving these predators from their homes?
The numbers are going up, but the places where they can live is going down.
Exactly.
And pushing others to the brink of extinction. The Florida Everglades, under siege by land
So there's not an animal that they can't potentially eat.
and by sea.
It's likely that the land could keep up with sea level rise, but there's going to be a limit.
And now the race is on to save America's most incredible wetlands.
It's a daunting task, but we're going to get it done.
The Globe, this week in Focus. This is Focus Earth with Bob Woodruff.
It has a unique ability to make visitors feel like they're thousands of miles away. The subtropical density of winding mangrove tunnels, the big sky beauty of acres of sawgrass prairie, and the safari-like feel of land teeming with exotic animals.
Grab the crack, grab the crack.
This is the Everglades,
Under his arms, okay?
We're good.
the Amazon of the Americas. 100 miles long, 50 miles wide, it spans Florida's panhandle from Lake Okeechobee down to the shores of the Atlantic. A fifth of it is a protected national park, and every inch of the Everglades is covered with some of the most iconic and the most endangered species on the planet.
For me to say the wow factor is kicks in when people come here is an understatement.
Dave Harridan has been leading kayak and canoe tours through the Everglades for more than 30 years.
There's lots of bird activity over here this morning.
Navigating these lush waterways, home to some of the Everglades' 350 species of birds.
Years ago, there would be millions of birds in here, and when they would take off, they would blot the sun out.
As abundant as the birds in the trees is the life in the water.
There's literally thousands and thousands of alligators everywhere in the Everglades. They've been around forever. When the world ends, we'll have alligators, share, and probably some roaches around.
The gators are a main attraction for the millions of visitors coming to the Everglades. But they also tell the tale of this special land. Like the alligator, the Everglades has been feared, reduced, and controlled. And the hope is that, like the once endangered American alligator, the Everglades, too, will rebound from years of abuse.
The Everglades is one of a kind, and we messed it up, so I think we have the responsibility to fix it.
The Everglades of today is a shadow of what it used to be. When developers in the early 1900s first eyed South Florida for trade and tourism, it was seen as a swampy mess.
So what they did was they started digging canals. What they wanted to do is to divert all of the water away from the southern part of the state under Lake Okeechobee and use it for agriculture, for homesteads, for taking water to the coasts and building fancy resorts or whatever it was that they could do.
Still today, some 5 million South Florida residents depend on the Everglades as a source of water. Over the years, that dependence has taken a heavy toll.
What we ended up with was an ecological disaster.
The Everglades is historically known as the River of Grass, and it's entirely dependent on rainfall. It starts at Lake Okeechobee, its banks overflowing during the rainy season, sending shallow sheets of fresh water through the various ecosystems. When the flow was diverted, fresh water was cut off in many areas, and 50% of the Everglades wetlands was lost.
That means that those species that used to live there don't do so well anymore.
90% of Everglades water birds vanished, and remaining ones, like the wood stork, are considered endangered or threatened. The loss of freshwater habitat has affected other species too, like the manatee and Florida panther, and even the most resilient ones.
Alligators and crocodiles are a really good indicator of what's going on with the Everglades because historically we think that there were more of both alligators and crocodiles in more different areas than there are now.
The Everglades is the only place on Earth where alligators and crocodiles live together, and both have struggled to navigate their changing landscape.
The success of their mating and their laying eggs is dependent on how much water there is in the system.
Since there's not as much water in the Everglades as there used to be, crocodiles have been relocating to some very unlikely places. Some traveled more than 50 miles from their natural habitat to the Turkey Point nuclear plant. Florida Power and Light built these canals in the 1970s, a 6,800-acre maze designed to cool the hot water that flows out of the plant and into the ocean.
There's one right there.
Attracted by the abundance of water, the crocs soon moved in.
There's the red eye.
And at night, these nocturnal creatures fill the water.
Just head right there.
Under the cover of darkness, we set out with international croc expert Joe Wasilewski.
It should be just laying there.
The power company hired him to run this crocodile sanctuary.
Shine it, shine it.
It's dead. There it is. Well, he's
Huge. Okay, we got him.
We catch a young male, already powerful enough to pose a threat.
Now put the tape on. Right there.
right there.
Yeah.
How many times around?
Oh, we're running low on tape.
A little extra precaution to protect us from their razor-sharp teeth.
Yeah, we're good.
And we get to work.
Okay. Grab him right there. You got a good grip. See what I'm talking about now?
What's the total number of these here right now?
There's as many as 400 non-hatchlings within and around the Cooley canals here.
We had a flip though, don't we?
Yeah. There you go.
But I gotta keep holding on to them.
You gotta hold on. Yes, yes you do.
Acting as a sort of croc doc,
I'm gonna flip them over.
Joe gives them regular checkups.
Oh, sorry, dude.
Monitoring how much they grow.
Wow, 82.7.
How much they weigh.
Okay, grab the croc, grab the croc.
And how well they are reproducing.
Why have so many of these crocs come into this place instead of out in the Everglades?
The ones that are here because of shelter, food, safety, and the adults are here because of nesting.
Unlike in their natural habitat in the coastal Everglades, here they are flourishing.
And with that water flowing down through the Everglades, the crocs couldn't really nest anymore.
No, their habitat was completely altered. Their numbers plummeted, and in the early 70s, they thought that this animal would be extinct by 2000. They were just downlisted last year to threatened status, but they're still in trouble. Not here. They're doing very well here. This man-made habitat just suits them fine.
So the numbers are going up, but the places where they can live is going down.
Exactly.
This guy's going to go back in the water now.
But conservationists want to see these and other native wildlife back in their natural habitat. And the Everglades back to what it once was.
All of the projects dealing with Everglades restoration really are about water management and how we get the water back to its natural flow pattern.
Saving the Everglades has become one of the largest state and federal land conservation projects in history.
The first goal is getting the water right. So that's the quality, quantity, timing, and distribution.
The state is negotiating a $536 million deal with U.S. Sugar to buy up more than 70,000 acres of farmland south of the Okeechobee, land crucial for reconnecting fresh water to the Everglades. Local and federal agencies are working together on a plan to reroute or modify existing highways, dams, and canals that block water from flowing south.
We think that that's a huge first step.
The proposal would raise parts of the Tamiami Trail connecting Tampa to Miami so water can flow underneath it.
But it's not that easy. We have to find a balance between people's needs and wildlife needs.
South Florida residents use east-west crossings like the Tamiami Trail to travel the state and as an exit route during hurricanes. The road to restoration will be long and complicated, but residents and officials generally agree it will be worth it in the future.
It's going to take up to $20 to $30 billion and take 35 to 40 years. So I'm cautiously optimistic. It's a daunting task, but we're going to get it done.
But restoration of the Everglades is important because we want to see those things like alligators. Look at postcards of South Florida. What do you see? Alligators, wading birds. I want to be able to show them to my children and grandchildren.
But even the best efforts to save the Everglades may not be enough to protect it from a looming threat, one bigger than anything done to the Everglades in the past. And there may not be anything anyone can do to stop it.
Southern Florida was once billed as America's paradise, but now there's trouble in paradise. That's because the tip of the state has become the tipping point for global warming.
Here along the southwestern edge of the Everglades, the dense forests give way to the open water of Florida Bay. Wildlife specialists Mike Cherkis and Kristen Hart are searching for signs of life.
There's another one.
The telltale tracks of sea turtles and crocodiles that use this coastline as their nurseries.
So this looks like a pretty fresh sea turtle crawl. I think this is a definite nest. And I would say the egg chamber is probably right in here. We have endangered green sea turtles that are calling this area home as they grow up. It's nesting grounds for birds, it's foraging grounds for wading birds.
It is here on these isolated beaches and shallow inlets where America's battle with climate change will see some of the most profound casualties.
Some of the effects would be a loss of a nesting beach habitat for some endangered and threatened species.
Hovering just near sea level, the coastal Everglades are at the mercy of the ocean. The slightest rise in sea level sends salt water flooding into this delicately balanced ecosystem.
Any animals using this beach may inadvertently put their nests in areas that would be inundated by salt water.
This is also where the notorious Florida hurricanes first slam onto shore.
Hurricanes have potential to change a nesting beach in a matter of a couple days.
This is really trashed here.
When Hurricane Wilma tore through here in 2005, it left a devastated ecosystem.
This is a dead dolphin, and this is, I think, a mama. That's
Nudging
a dead
it.
calf.
This whole flipper is gone.
We had over 100-mile-an-hour winds, and you can see the shoreline here. It's pretty ripped up. So you lose those little environments that allow animals to sort of grow up and take refuge from the elements.
Scientists paint a grim picture for the future of shallow coastlines like this in the Everglades.
And all those animals and plants that are here either going to die or be displaced.
Melting glaciers and ice sheets will pump water into the world's oceans, flooding many coastal areas. The projection, all of this underwater within the century.
They're estimating that by 2100 we could have about 3 feet of sea level rise. Now that's of concern to us because approximately 50% of the park is less than 3 feet in elevation.
But it's not just the animals on the shallow ground that are at risk. Millions of South Florida residents also live under the threat of rising waters. The state has more than 1,200 miles of coastline and 11 million acres of low-lying communities.
There's no high ground here. There are no mountains. There are no hills. So we're living right at sea level. And the other thing is, of course, we're in Hurricane Central.
And the hurricanes already ravaging Florida could gain momentum from warmer, deeper waters.
Hurricanes are like steam engines. They're drawing their energy off that warm water. So if the surface waters get warmer, there is more energy available. So it makes perfectly good sense that the hurricanes can become larger.
It's a dark vision of the future, one that's making the race to save the Everglades all the more urgent.
We probably have the largest climate change adaptation project going on the planet right now, known as the Everglades Restoration Plan.
That restoration plan is also the greatest hope for protecting surrounding communities from the effects of climate change.
Everglades plays a tremendous and huge role in buffering a lot of the impacts of hurricanes to South Florida, and it serves as a giant sponge.
And if the freshwater flow is restored, it could help dilute advancing seawater.
If we can restore the ecosystem, then we can get a system that's more resilient to the effects of climate change.
That's Plan A. Plan B is preparing for the worst, storing seeds of rare plants and relocating endangered species to protected areas.
We haven't gotten to that point yet.
Those storm clouds hang on the horizon for this land. Many are betting on nature's incredible ability to adapt to a changing climate.
Whether this coastline and whether the animals here are resilient enough to keep up with changes in weather patterns is one of the things we're trying to monitor. It's likely that the land could keep up with sea level rise, but there's going to be a limit.
As the coastline here tries to hold off the rising tide, one more battle remains for this land, one being waged deep in the heart of the Everglades. Nature's version of alien versus predator.